It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of Pageant, King Lear, When We Were Young and Unafraid, and a tribute to Lauren Bacall and Robin Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. How are you, Leslie?
I'm fine, Charlie. I'm sad about Lauren Bacall, but I'm fine.
And I am also very sad about Robin Williams, but we'll talk about them later.
We will.
How are things at the drama desk?
Oh,
Vice
very
President,
good.
Vice
Presidenting along,
over there.
yes.
All right, we have a lot to talk about today. So we're going to talk about Pageant. So, you know, I'm saying, gee, we really need another show to review tonight. Leslie, can you choose something? And Leslie gets back to me and says, we're going to see a show about a beauty pageant and all the female contestants are played by guys. And I'm thinking, great, we have a show. And then I'm thinking, what did I get? What did I agree to? And then I go and see the show, and it is the stupidest thing. But it's good. It's funny. You'd think pageants can be so stereotypical even when they're done straight, so what can they do on stage? Well, it turns out quite a bit. Now, this is a pageant sponsored by a beauty company. All the contestants, again, are supposed to be women. In fact, they have this ridiculous number, we are natural women. And they're all men. And the amazing thing is, if you look at, they have their pictures and kudos to the makeup artist of this show. I mean, that is very, very impressive. Anyway, so basically it's a pageant, and it's familiar material, but they just do it so well. It's so ridiculous.
Well, there's a fresh touch to it. I mean, it's not simply a drag show. It's actually quite clever. They follow the concept of the pageant.
Yes.
So that there's the beauty part, there's the evening gown, the bathing
God
suit.
help us, the bathing suit.
Yes, God help us, the talent portion of the show. And then in between, as a spokesperson, each one of them has to try to sell a product.
Yes.
And the products are ridiculous. The products themselves are insane. There's an industrial
think Vita Vita Benjamin in the I Love Lucy episode.
Except they're not drunk when they do this. I mean, the point is, they might have been, but each one of the products gets funnier and funnier. There's one product where she's spraying hairspray in her hair, and this is supposed to be good for the ozone layer because it's got some sort of little thing on the bottom. And
ozone regenerative.
She sprays a ton of the stuff before she stops, and the more she sprays, the funnier it becomes. And then there's industrial strength spackle for all those wrinkles. I could use that myself tonight. We have very bad lighting, but anyway.
And then there's this one there's this body perfume or something, and the audience actually gets sprayed. And to keep it interesting,
you got sprayed.
Yeah, I did. Yes. 3 members of the audience are chosen to be judges, and five, excuse me, and they actually vote as to who was the winner. So it's kind of like an Edmund Drood effect. So
one girl kept putting up a 10, no matter who was up there. She put up a 10. I think she didn't want to insult anybody, and she didn't feel, she felt bad for everybody. But it is fun. So every night there's a different winner.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
Yes.
And one of the girls comes back when she goes off. The girl who gets kicked off when there are only 4 runners-up
left.
That's
Miss Industrial Northeast, one of my favorite Hispanic character,
Latina,
who I think she's Cuban. She works in a prison. And her earrings were made in the prison shop.
And the girls at the prison helped her with her makeup. Yes. I thought that was great. That was really funny. It was
very talented girls in that prison.
It was fun. I'm laughing, you're laughing. It was fun. I was thinking to myself, oh God, because I had gone to a lot of drag shows in my time. So when you said, I went, well, come on, Charlie, they could be fun.
And they were?
I didn't really expect it. I was saying that because I knew that you were going to be upset. I was trying to make it easy for you.
But the interesting thing is, I think if they actually used real women, the show would also work.
It might, but it wouldn't be as funny.
Maybe
I mean, underneath the underlying thing that we know, and they never play. It's not Kaja Fall. They're not of that caliber. The costumes, while very nice, are not of that caliber. Well, it looks like a summer stock production.
It's done in a small off-Broadway theater, and it reflects it.
It's the Davenport that used to be the 45th Street Theater, and it's come up with 2 shows. It had Forbidden Broadway, and now it's got this. And this is only 3 nights a week.
You have Frank Kelly, who wrote the book and lyrics. Bill Russell, who also wrote the book and lyrics. Bill Russell also did Sideshow, and Sideshow is actually coming back to Broadway.
Oh, my goodness, I didn't realize. Because it was a clever.
There are a lot lot of people in this show are also associated with Sideshow.
Oh, so maybe some of them will go into Sideshow.
Maybe, and well,
which is not
the creative people.
Right.
And I'm actually looking forward to that revival, but we'll talk about that in another show.
Okay.
But all in all, it's silly, it's ridiculous, it's absurd, and it's so much fun, and I was laughing. I would give it 3.5.
I would give it 3.5. It was enjoyable. I don't think you can bring your kids necessarily. I don't know.
Well, it depends how old they are.
It's true, and it's all double entendre anyway, so they probably go right over like that,
I think you bring a young child to say, they're not natural girls. They're men. I mean,
right. I mean, that might be it. But
as good as the makeup is, there is never a moment in that show where you doubt they are men. Lacage, in most of the productions, they mix a couple of real girls in there. Or as Harvey Fierstein would call them, Gigi's, genuine girl or genetic girl.
This is King Lear, the second and final show of the season for Shakespeare in the Park.
The Delacorte Theatre in Central Park, yes.
Right. And it's the serious play. There was a comedy, Much Ado, and now this is the serious play. It stars John Lithgow. The story of King Lear, everyone must know it. It's a family drama. King Lear is old. He's decided to divest himself of his properties and his concerns and his cares and his woes and give it all to the kids. And then he wants to stay with the kids. I want to stay with you for so many weeks, and I want to stay with you for so many weeks, and I'll bring some nights, and I'll have a good time, and I won't have to worry about my life anymore. And since my father was elderly and died last year, I understand what this means even more than I ever did, because my father didn't want any responsibilities at the end. He just didn't want anything to do with it. And so that's what Lear is doing. He has 3 daughters. He has Goneril and Regan, who are the eldest, and then he has his youngest daughter, Cordelia, who's his favorite. Okay, so Cordelia is the truth-telling daughter. The other 2 come forward when he says, daughters, here's the map. I'm going to split the land. Tell me which one of you loves me the most. And one of them comes and says, Daddy, Daddy, dearest, I love you more than life itself, more than every breath I take, blah, 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 blah. And then the other daughter comes in and says, well, I love you too, but my sister doesn't even come close because I love you as big as mountains and high as trees. And I'm making these lines up. Shakespeare
this is a very shallow family, by the way, except for Cordelia.
And then he turns to Cordelia, who says, Dad, I don't understand what these 2 are talking about. They have husbands, and why would I get married if I was going to give you all my love? Why wouldn't I want some for my husband? What's wrong with these girls? I love you as much as I love you, as much as I'm supposed to love you. And he gets furious. How can you say that? Daughters say again,
It's called a hissy fit.
Well, in any case, what happens is she refuses to change her mind, and he says, fine, you 2 girls, get the rest of it, get this girl out of here. And France takes her and says she is herself a dowry, one of my favorite lines of all time. I will take her, she's beautiful, I will love her. How could you possibly cast this off? I will take that which you cast off, he says. Now, I know these lines a little bit because I actually played Goneril, which leads me into who played Goneril in this production. Annette Bening, who is the wife of
Warren Beatty.
Thank you, Warren Beatty. I always want to say the woman chaser, but he isn't anymore. I mean, he really settled down. In any case, Annette Bening is a lovely actress, and in film has won all sorts of Oscars for all sorts of performances. I expected gigantic things from her in this role, and she was invisible as far as I was concerned. She was standing there, and she was saying lines, and she had she had loud and soft. That was all I heard. I did not hear emotion. I heard anger, and I heard non-anger. By the other hand, Jessica Heck brought some. You want to talk about humor? She brought some comedy to this. Not that it's necessarily supposed to be there, but she has a delivery that.
I guess I went away thinking, boy, King Lear has the worst roles for actresses, because I thought all 3 of them were pretty. I wasn't.
Cordelia is a small role.
Yes, not much presence. And I totally forgot Annette Bening was a name in this show.
Right.
I think, oh wait, no, Annette Bening was. Oh yeah, she was. But I agree with you. Lack of presence. Now John Lithgow has plenty of presence here.
But he's also acting old because he's much younger than that. He's 69, I believe, or 68.
Well, that's older than Lear.
Well, but not for. I mean, in our society, but he'd be closer to my dad's 92 than he would be to. So he's still a robust and vigorous man.
Yes.
And Laurence Olivier once said, when he was asked what's the perfect age to play, he said, to the age by which you can still pick Cordelia up,
right.
And he couldn't when he played it. They had to lift her.
Didn't he also say find a light Cordelia?
Find a thin Cordelia. Yes. And there are 2 smaller roles that are very well played. One is Kent, J.O. Sanders, who's been around for so long and does
now he
lovely
actually
things.
has this one beautifully comical scene where he's strapped up in irons and...
Yeah, that's comical, wow.
It is. Well, when Lear's men find him and his reaction, but he can go from comedy to drama, and it's a very full performance. And I think that was, I like John Lithgow, but I think that was my favorite performance.
J.O. is, well, of course he has many colors there, and Lear simply goes madder and madder and madder, and he doesn't get to play. I'm not saying all Lears are that way. I've seen other Lears who have more colors.
I've only seen it once, and one other time, and I honestly...
Whose did you see?
It was at Lincoln Center, I think, and I wasn't...
Do you remember who it was?
I do not.
Oh,
that gives you the impression it made on me. This made a much stronger impression. This is not one of my favorite Shakespeare plays, and this production certainly will not.
Well,
but you have
one more character, and that's Stephen Beyer as the fool. In this particular place, I've never seen this before. They made him very young.
Yes.
And he was a young man speaking to his elder, and that gave it a lot of depth that I wasn't.
Well, the fool in
used
many
to.
ways is the son he never had.
Yes, very good. I like that. I like that very much.
And it is a good performance. You know, everyone always stresses the fool, the fool, the fool. It's not really that large a role compared to some of the others.
But if the other roles don't come off, then he can be the center.
Well, a lot of the other roles come off. There's also the Duke of Gloucester.
Gloucester.
Duke of Gloucester, Earl of Gloucester, who also has a son problem. He has a legitimate son and a bastard son, and the bastard son...
one is Edgar, one is Edmund, yeah.
Right. Basically wants to get rid of his brother, and he almost comes very close to doing so, and his father has no idea what a rat he is.
Well, he says, now God, stand up for bastards.
Right, and you are talking, I'm not sure I can pronounce this, Chukwudi.
I don't think I can pronounce it either. It's an
Iwuji
African name.
as Edgar, excellent.
Very, very good.
Edgar's
the one who strips down and plays poor Tom.
Right, and Sheffer, and I just lost it.
Oh.
Oh dear.
As Edmund the bastard,
right. And again, these are two very good performances, as well as the Earl himself.
But overall, this was a blah production for me. I love the set.
One of my favorite parts was during the rain, how they affected the rain with the lighting.
Yes,
excellent.
John Lee Beatty,
and this is in a theater that they actually can use the real thing on certain nights.
But and they made it green for trees. You know. It's just a lot of metal spikes.
Little too much banging on the gongs and the drums.
That was beautiful. That was like Korean.
Not
gong
for me.
Oh, very nice. I love the sound.
The sound was nice, but I think it was overdoing it.
Well,
I mean, it was being a little too grandiose, even for a Shakespeare play, at least for me.
But I must say, and the director on this is Dan Sullivan, who did that fantastic twins play. I never get the name of it right. The Boys from Syracuse. What is that called? It's not called that. Oh dear God! Comedy of Errors. Did that wonderful Comedy of Errors last summer,
was fabulous.
Which was fabulous. This is not fabulous. And I expected more from Dan. I really did. The set is a very Royal Shakespeare Company kind of set with no furniture except what's needed, and they bring that on.
And they set it in the actual time that it was set.
They tried. They make it in a pagan time. It's definitely in some kind of pagan time where they. But going back to the set, John Lee Beatty can still surprise me. I've seen this man now for so many years in the theater, and every time I think I got what he does.
We have to move on. I think so.
All right. So what did you think about? What would you give it in terms of play?
Again, not my favorite Shakespeare play. Good production. I would say 3.25.
No, I don't think it was a good production. That's it had production values that I thought were good, but the acting was not of a piece for me. And I would give it 2.75.
Except for the ladies, I kind of did enjoy the acting, so I would have to.
Well, except for the ladies. I mean, that's 2/3 of the play right there,
Well, yes, and no. They don't make much of an impression, so I actually found myself getting into the other aspects. But I kept thinking, God, what a dysfunctional family. And Lear, come on.
Yeah, I know.
King is shallow, two daughters are shallow. I mean, this is either a sitcom or a reality. This is a Shakespearean reality show.
Yes, you're right. It's definitely one of his most domestic, if not the only domestic tragedy.
Okay, well, this is a drama, not quite a tragedy.
Definitely dysfunctional, though.
Well, I suppose, but this was when we were young and unafraid at Manhattan Theatre Club. We saw Cherry Jones in Glass Menagerie
That
a
other
little early.
dysfunctional family play.
Yes,
Yes.
speaking of dysfunctional families, well, this is a family of sorts. I liked her so much better in this. This is a woman.
In this, then
Yes,
oh,
that
I
in
see.
Glass Menagerie. This is a woman. She lives on. She has a bed and breakfast on an island that she runs, and she has a daughter. And in addition to taking in guests, she takes in battered women or women in trouble, and she actually takes one here. And then there's this third woman who is desperate for a job. She's kind of looking for Paradise Island, as in the Wonder Woman comic book series, this island of all women. And I think she wants to be an Amazon or something like that. But in the meantime, she needs food, and so she keeps kind of pushing herself in there, even though Jerry Joe's like, no, I don't need you. So I don't think this woman is exactly a Black Panther, but she's certainly a, shall we say, early 1970s type feminist. You know, she's of the women need men
But
like
she
a
keeps
fish
talking about
needs a
revolution.
nice like a bicycle. Yes,
But she keeps talking about revolution.
but mostly she's looking for her all-female island. Anyway, and this show goes, and there's also, well, we see one of the guests that they have, and the show goes very strongly.
It does.
Until
it
it derails. There's this one scene that I found very inconsistent with the characters, where the guest does something that you would not have expected him to do, and then kind of reverts back to his former persona. And it does get back on track, but it never quite has the momentum that it did at the beginning.
Well, I saw several different themes going on. One was, what's love really about? One of the girls who's there is a battered woman and who promises she's never go back to the bastard again, kind of thing, begins to talk to the daughter of the woman who owns the place, Cherry Jones.
Let's just take a look at When We Were Young and Unafraid.
She asked me who was taking you to prom. I told her I didn't know.
I am not going to the prom.
Okay.
I can't think of anything more bourgeois.
You're probably right. Do you remember that green dress of mine that you liked so much? The one that I wore to my high school graduation?
No.
Remember? It was raw silk, cut on the bars. Used to hang in the back of my closet,
Where is it now?
up in the attic.
Okay.
I could take it down and hem it for you if you like. It would look good on you with all that hair.
We are supposed to wear white to graduation.
I know. I thought you might like it for something else.
Like what?
Prom.
I just told
If
you.
nobody has asked you yet, why don't you ask somebody?
Why do you want me to go so badly?
I don't care if you go.
Good, because I am not going.
I just don't want you to miss it, that's all. Why don't I tell you a little bit about us and what we do here?
We?
Yeah, my daughter Penny and I. You'll meet her. She's 16, and she helps me out quite a bit with the girls. You'll be staying up in her room.
Oh no, I don't want to put her out.
I know it's fine. She's used to it. She'll stay with me.
I can just stay down there in the basement.
It's filthy.
I don't mind.
Well, what are you, a dog?
No.
Good. Then you'll sleep in a bed like a human being. Now, we ask that you stay upstairs during the days, and we'll bring your meals up to you, and you can sleep, you can read, you can watch television, and rest. And when your face heals, you can come down and help us with the cooking and cleaning if you like, though you don't have to. And when you're ready, we can talk about what your next move will be. Any questions?
Why do I have to stay upstairs?
Well, our guests here are nice people on vacation, hoping to relax. We can't have someone walking around here looking like a ghoul, spoiling the view. You understand? You have to stay upstairs until your face looks normal again.
You ever hear of T. Grace Atkinson?
I don't think so.
Well, they're going to build a community that is just for women.
Why?
And T. Grace says, feminism is the theory and lesbianism is the practice.
Oh, what does that mean?
Well, it means if you call yourself a feminist but you're not a lesbian, then it means you're just full of smoke.
Well, that is not fair. Just because I'm not personally attracted to women doesn't mean... Well, that doesn't seem legitimate to you.
Sure, lady. Whatever.
Okay, so your conclusion.
Well, I like the play. I liked it a lot. I think a great deal of Zoe Kazan because she's a writer, she's an actress, she wrote several plays on Broadway. This is Sarah Treem. I've seen some of her other plays. I've thought a great deal about those. I don't recall who did the direction on this. Did you have that page open?
Well, I did, yes.
And we don't remember who that is, though.
Right. Well, while you're looking that up,
There
I'm
it
going to
is.
say 3.5 playbills. And you?
I'm going to say 3, but I'm Pam McKinnon, who did all of that stuff last year.
Right.
She did the Edward Albee play, and I think she did that other thing on Broadway as well. It was beautifully directed. Beautifully directed. I would give it
directed, well written. Again, gets derailed, never quite gets back on track, but still a very solid work. And I enjoyed this.
Something to think about.
And I would like to see what this playwright comes out with next.
Serious but funny at the same time. I like plays like that to make you think.
Yes. Now, our final segment for the evening, we're going to talk about 2 actors, both of whom were on Broadway, Lauren Bacall and Robin Williams. But Lauren Bacall, I think, has a very special place in your heart.
Well, I was a road company, Lauren Bacall, and I can prove it. You know, I'm always talking about these things, and people probably think I'm making it up. This is Lauren Bacall on the playbill, and that's me on the other side. It was my name, saying Cactus Flower, and I was out in Bellport, Long Island, at the Playhouse out there. That's one. And then following that, that's Lauren Bacall on the playbill again, and that's me up in New Salem, New Hampshire, I think it is. And it says, you know, there I am getting the raves saying, just as good as Bacall kind of thing. Well, you know, I don't know whether I was.
Well, let me. You have a clip here. I would like to read.
I'm
going to read.
I want to talk about Bacall.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for reading my clip.
Okay. This was actually written here in review. Nancy M. Wilson, Leslie Blake. This was before Hoban. Is in a heady company when she reproduces the role, a fact which she soon turns to her advantage by strutting her marvelous stage voice, reminiscent of Bacall's, no argument there, that's for sure, and showering her elegance and grace on stage, letting the audience know that despite the plot, what do you mean despite the plot? You were Margot Channing. Margot Channing's the star. She is indeed the star.
Well,
I love it.
Miss Bacall passed away last week at the age of 89. Still beautiful, still the kind of person. A couple of years ago, a very good friend of mine, one of my editors, and I went up to Williamstown to see a new Arthur Miller play in which Miss Bacall's son, Sam Robards, was starring. The play went to Broadway. And we had the heady opportunity. We were invited to, as press, we were invited to the party afterwards. And as we were walking to the party, we bumped into, literally in the parking lot, Miss Bacall and her son, Sam Robards, as they were heading to the party. And my friend, who had interviewed her once, walked up to her and said, hi, how are you? I don't know if you remember, but I interviewed her, and she just looked at him and said, yeah? And, you know, went on. Now, she's known for doing that. She would not talk to people in restaurants who said things to her. So I didn't, I took my time. I wasn't going to say anything. And then when we were in the party, I actually had a chance to walk up to her, and it was my life's dream to do this, to say, I once was you. I was the road company you know. And I walked up and I said, I started to, you know, I played several of your roles. And she said, really, how nice for you. And that was kind of it. I just froze, and I didn't know what else to say. And I still love her. I don't care. You know, she was known for that.
Well, it's interesting. She had a reputation when she was doing Woman of the Year, which unfortunately you never got to do.
I never got. Well, I didn't want to do it. I was offered it, and I didn't want to do it.
She was professional, but she did have the reputation of being a diva, you know, and then she left the show, and Raquel Welch came in. And apparently Raquel was an even bigger diva. Within 2 weeks, the cast was wearing T-shirts, Bring Back Betty, which was Lauren's given name. The other actor I would like to pay tribute to was Robin Williams. He only appeared on Broadway twice. I think he was, I'm not sure, I think it was at Lincoln Center. He did Waiting for Godot, Fido,
yes,
I don't know. You know,
Steve Martin. It
with
was
Steve
a
Martin.
very interesting
I didn't get
production.
to see it. I wish I could have. I did get to see him in The Bengal Tiger, which was the last thing he did.
Which he was marvelous in.
He was, but I had a lot of fun at the end of the play. They were doing an Actors Equity fundraiser, and at the end he was auctioning, I think, himself off. And so at that point,
but he played the tiger. That's
played
the
he played
interesting
a
part.
dead
He played
tiger.
The dead tiger spirit.
Yes.
And he played the role. He didn't play Robin Williams.
No.
And because it wasn't showy, people really didn't, I think, get what he was really doing, how difficult that was.
I'm sure it was. I wasn't overly enamored with the play.
Yeah, well,
but I did have a very good time at the end where he actually could be himself during the auction. It's tragic. The man was 63.
Yes.
You know, and what I was so wonderful is the outpouring of love. And I think I can't help thinking that if he knew how beloved he really was, how much people cared for him. I mean, no one said anything negative. I mean, you generally don't when someone dies, but like Bacall, they say,
right, exactly.
we loved her, but she was a diva. No one says that. Everyone loved him. So, and if he could have known that, maybe, just, maybe he would have been able to hold on a little longer.
When he first started, he was beloved. When he first started with Mork and Mindy and with first movies, with Good Morning Vietnam.
Right.
And then something happened. And people stopped liking him. I mean, it happened with critics. They stopped liking him, and I don't know why. I never stopped liking him.
I think a lot of people still liked him.
I know, but the critics were the ones who could kill the movies, and if people didn't go to see them. Then he won an Oscar finally for Good Will Hunting. But he was brilliant in that thing about the Dead Poets Society. He was brilliant in that,
And he was brilliant
I thought.
as the genie. In Aladdin, which, and I have to say the actor who's doing the role on Broadway is also brilliant, maybe not the production, but interesting. One final fact, and then we're at our ad. The genie him doing Aladdin was actually inspired when Disney opened what was then called Disney MGM, basically the movie park. They had an animation studio, and they had a character created by Robin Williams over there for a demo, and I think that was and they said, we have to do more with this guy, and they did. And he will be missed.
The lights went out on Broadway for both, and well deserved.
Well deserved. It's a shame that we will never see him on stage again.
Yeah, well, we can if you go to Lincoln Center Library, you can on tape. That's that's the best you're going to get.
Yeah, and when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us too,
on the aisle.